Whispers in the shadows, here comes the Hotstepper, the Al Fayed Conspiracy. Disclaimer statement. Whispers in the Shadows, Here Comes the Hotstepper, the Al Fayed Conspiracy is a work of investigative exploration that seeks to uncover and analyze various aspects of alleged controversies and conspiracies surrounding prominent figures. The content herein is intended to provoke thought and discussion and is based on publicly available information and accounts. Legal notice: the individuals and events discussed in this publication may be associated with allegations and accusations. It is important to note that all claims made are presented as allegedly to maintain clarity and avoid misrepresentation. This work does not assert the veracity of any claims against any individual but rather seeks to explore potential avenues of inquiry surrounding historical events and figures. Considerations for allegations post-mortem. Victims' courage and legal considerations. Victims may feel empowered to come forward after the death of an alleged perpetrator, often finding the absence of perceived threats and legal repercussions as a catalyst for sharing their experiences. Legal constraints may hinder accusations during a person's lifetime, but the death of the accused can provide a less stringent environment for discussion and exploration of allegations. Media and public interest. Media outlets frequently revisit the lives of prominent figures after their passing, often leading to a resurgence of interest and scrutiny, which can unearth new allegations. The public's curiosity about famous individuals can foster investigations into their pasts, sometimes revealing hidden aspects of their lives. Financial and legal settlements. Allegations surfacing posthumously may lead to financial settlements or compensation claims against the estate of the deceased, potentially motivating individuals to come forward. Legal professionals may see opportunities in high-profile cases, positioning themselves to represent victims in pursuit of claims. Reputation management. Institutions or individuals associated with the deceased may seek to distance themselves from negative aspects of their legacy, which can result in efforts to discredit the deceased. There can be a desire to rectify the historical record, ensuring that all dimensions of a person's life are acknowledged. Who gains? Victims gain closure and acknowledgement of their experiences. Media outlets gain increased viewership and readership from coverage of high-profile stories. Legal professionals, potential for financial gain by representing victims in legal proceedings. Institutions and individuals may protect their reputations by distancing themselves from negative associations. The motivations behind these actions are often complex and multifaceted, involving personal, financial, and societal factors. Chapter 1, Introduction. Here comes the Hotstepper Al Fayed. The enigmatic figure of Mohamed Al Fayed. In the sprawling tapestry of British business history, few figures evoke as much intrigue and controversy as Mohamed Al Fayed. Born on the 27th of January 1933, in Alexandria, Egypt, he rose from modest beginnings to become a symbol of ambition and complexity in the high-stakes world of luxury retail. Al Fayed's journey is marked by audacious business ventures, high-profile connections, and a series of allegations that have kept him in the public eye. His life's narrative is a vivid illustration of how wealth and notoriety can intertwine, creating a legacy that elicits both admiration and skepticism. Al Fayed's most significant claim to fame is arguably his acquisition of Harrods, one of the world's most iconic department stores. This transaction, completed in 1985, catapulted him into the limelight. However, the journey to owning Harrods was not without its hurdles. From the outset, Al Fayed faced scrutiny and skepticism, particularly concerning his financial integrity. His acquisition was met with allegations of misrepresentation, which led to investigations by the Department of Trade and Industry, DTI. The DTI concluded that Al Fayed had indeed misrepresented his financial status, setting the stage for a tumultuous relationship with both the media and the British establishment. Al Fayed's business dealings were often interwoven with high-profile relationships that drew significant media attention. Among these connections was his friendship with Princess Diana. Their bond blossomed during the summer of 1997, when Al Fayed invited Diana and her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, to spend time at his villa in St. Tropez. This relationship has been the subject of much speculation, with reports suggesting that Diana found solace in Al Fayed's company, particularly during the tumultuous period following her divorce from Prince Charles. In a candid moment captured by the media, Diana expressed gratitude for Al Fayed's hospitality, stating, "He treats us like royalty." However, This camaraderie also painted a target on Al Fayed's back, leading to increased scrutiny from the press. As Roy Greenslade, a media commentator, noted, the media can elevate figures like Al Fayed to celebrity status, only to later tear them down when they become too controversial. Al Fayed's commitment to creating memorable experiences extended beyond mere business transactions. It permeated the very fabric of Harrods. During lavish parties, he famously proclaimed, "In this store, dreams come true," a sentiment that encapsulated his vision for Harrods as a haven of luxury and wonder. One of the highlights of Al Fayed's tenure was his extravagant Christmas celebrations at Harrods. Known for dressing as Santa Claus, he personally handed out gifts to children, emphasizing his desire to create magical experiences for his customers. This personal touch endeared him to many, making him a beloved figure among shoppers who flocked to Harrods during the festive season. Al Fayed was known for his hands-on approach to customer service. He famously said, "Every customer is a VIP at Harrods." This philosophy drove him to ensure that every shopper received exceptional service, regardless of their status. His attention to detail was legendary. He would often walk through the store, inspecting displays and interacting with staff and customers. His involvement was key to maintaining Harrods' reputation for excellence. Employees recalled his insistence on perfection, stating that he had an eye for detail that few could match. Al Fayed was never one to shy away from controversy. His public accusations against the British royal family regarding the deaths of his son Dodi and Princess Diana were bold and unrelenting. He once stated, "I will not rest until I get to the bottom of what happened to my son and Diana," showcasing his determination to seek justice. Reflecting his frustration with being denied British citizenship, Al Fayed once remarked, "I have done more for this country than many who were born here." This statement underscores his sense of injustice and desire for recognition, particularly as he navigated the complexities of being an immigrant in a foreign land. Al Fayed was also known for his philanthropic efforts, donating significant sums to various charities and community projects. He believed in giving back and often said, "Success is not just about making money, it's about making a difference." His contributions ranged from supporting children's charities to funding educational initiatives, reflecting his desire to create a positive impact in the community. His philanthropic endeavors further complicated the public perception of Al Fayed. While he faced allegations of misconduct, his charitable contributions painted a more nuanced picture of a man striving to leave a lasting legacy beyond the controversies that surrounded him. Al Fayed's life story is not just a chronicle of business ventures, it reflects broader societal themes, including immigration, identity, and the pursuit of the British dream. As an Egyptian in a predominantly British elite circle, Al Fayed's experiences reveal the struggles of assimilation and acceptance. Dr. Rania Malouf, a historian focusing on post-colonial narratives, has observed that figures like Al Fayed often challenge the status quo, illustrating the complexities of belonging in a society that can be simultaneously welcoming and exclusionary. The life of Mohamed Al Fayed is a complex interplay of success, scandal, and societal commentary. As we embark on this investigative journey, we must consider the multifaceted nature of his legacy, shaped by his achievements and the controversies that have followed him. This chapter sets the stage for exploring the deeper implications of Al Fayed's life, examining how his story reflects broader societal dynamics and the intricate dance between wealth and reputation. Chapter 2: The House of Fraser Controversy and the Harrods Acquisition, the Power Struggle Behind Closed Doors. The acquisition of Harrods was not just a transaction, it was a monumental battle entrenched in conspiracy, power, and manipulation. Mohamed Al Fayed's purchase of Harrods in 1985 became a focal point in British business history, marking not just the beginning of Al Fayed's public scrutiny but also a conspiratorial web involving the British establishment, business elites, and rival powerhouses like Tiny Rowland. Setting the stage for conflict. In the early 1980s, Harrods, part of the House of Fraser Group, was one of the most prestigious and well-known department stores in the world. It symbolized not only luxury but the very essence of British tradition and culture. Acquiring such a powerful asset was no small feat and would come at a great personal and financial cost to anyone willing to take on the challenge. For Mohamed Al Fayed, this was the ultimate prize. However, his bid was fraught with opposition from high-level corporate competitors and elements within the British government, who saw the Egyptian businessman as an outsider attempting to penetrate the British establishment. The legal and financial battle begins. Al Fayed's acquisition of House of Fraser, including Harrods, was met with hostility almost immediately. His chief opponent was Tiny Rowland, head of the conglomerate Lonho, who accused Al Fayed of using dubious financial means to purchase the group. Rowland, a powerful and controversial figure himself, claimed that Al Fayed had lied about his wealth to secure the purchase. These allegations were followed by a protracted legal battle and an investigation by the Department of Trade and Industry, DTI. The conspiracy at this stage becomes even more tangled as Tiny Rowland's connections to influential members of the British elite were brought to light. Rowland had friends in high places, including the media, business leaders, and politicians, who appeared ready to aid his battle against Al Fayed. The question was, why? Was it merely about business, or was there something deeper at play? The DTI investigation and alleged government collusion. The DTI investigation into Al Fayed's acquisition was extensive, but the findings were damning. The report concluded that Al Fayed had indeed misrepresented his financial status, casting a shadow over the legitimacy of his ownership of Harrods. What remains conspicuously unexplained, however, is the extent to which government forces might have played a role in these accusations. Was the British government acting independently in its scrutiny of Al Fayed, or was it influenced by Rowland and his allies, who sought to undermine Al Fayed's rise to power? Many have speculated that the political establishment harbored an inherent bias against Al Fayed, viewing him as an unwelcome outsider whose acquisition of such a prestigious British asset challenged the status quo. The media's role, orchestrating a campaign. During this time, the media played a pivotal role in shaping public perception of Al Fayed. Various newspapers, including those owned by Rupert Murdoch and other media moguls with connections to Tiny Rowland, embarked on a sustained campaign to tarnish Al Fayed's reputation. The press consistently ran stories that questioned his integrity, ethics, and financial history, effectively aligning with Rowland's narrative. But was the media merely reporting the facts, or were they complicit in a larger conspiracy orchestrated by Rowland and his political connections to oust Al Fayed from Harrods? Some conspiracy theorists argue that the media coverage of Al Fayed was part of a coordinated effort to ensure that an outsider like him could never fully integrate into the British elite. Al Fayed's view, I was targeted. Throughout these battles, Al Fayed remained vocal about his belief that he was being targeted by powerful forces. In interviews and public statements, he frequently cited the media's role in distorting facts and creating false narratives, accusing journalists and media moguls of conspiring against him. His frustration was palpable. I have done more for this country than most who were born here, and yet they treat me like an enemy, he lamented. While it is easy to dismiss these claims as the ramblings of a man frustrated by legal and financial setbacks, a closer look at the coordinated nature of the attacks against him does raise questions. Was Al Fayed truly a victim of a media and political conspiracy designed to undermine his credibility, or were the accusations against him valid? The power play, Harrods as a symbol of British prestige. Harrods was not merely a business, it was a symbol of British pride and heritage. This is perhaps why Al Fayed's acquisition became such a flashpoint for conspiracy theories. Many believed that certain factions within the British elite would never accept a foreign owner of such an iconic institution. They viewed Al Fayed as an outsider trying to claim a piece of British heritage for himself, and they were determined to stop him at all costs. Even after successfully acquiring Harrods, Al Fayed continued to face obstacles. The British press consistently scrutinized his management of the store, his personal life, and his business dealings. Every decision he made as the owner of Harrods was met with criticism, and it appeared that no matter what he did, he would never be fully accepted by the British establishment. Harrods as a political battlefield. Some conspiracy theorists have even speculated that Harrods became a political battlefield, with various power players using the store's ownership as a means of exerting control and influence over British society. Al Fayed's struggle to hold on to Harrods can be viewed as symbolic of a larger battle between traditional British elites and outsiders who sought to challenge their power. The unravelling: did Al Fayed ultimately win or lose? In the end, Al Fayed retained ownership of Harrods until 2010, when he sold the store to Qatar Holdings. However, the battle over Harrods left deep scars on Al Fayed's legacy. While he ultimately succeeded in maintaining control of the store for over 2 decades, the ongoing conspiracies and battles took a significant toll on his reputation and personal life. Some conspiracy theorists argue that Al Fayed's eventual sale of Harrods was a forced move, part of a broader strategy by British elites to reclaim control over an institution they believed should have never been in foreign hands. Others see it as a pragmatic business decision by a man who had grown weary of fighting an endless battle. Regardless of the motivations behind the sale, it marked the end of an era for Al Fayed and Harrods, a chapter in British business history that will forever be shrouded in controversy and conspiracy. Chapter 3: The Struggle for Recognition, Al Fayed's Battle for Citizenship. Mohamed Al Fayed's quest for British citizenship was marked by a turbulent interplay of legal battles, media scrutiny, and allegations of systemic prejudice. As an Egyptian businessman who had amassed significant wealth, Al Fayed's aspirations were not merely about obtaining a passport, they represented a deeper longing for acceptance within British society, a society he had long sought to be a part of but felt alienated from. Al Fayed's legal challenges began shortly after he purchased Harrods in 1985, a move that made him a prominent figure in the UK. Initially, his application for British citizenship was met with optimism, however, this quickly soured as his background was scrutinised. The Home Office, citing various allegations, denied his citizenship application in 1993, arguing that his past business dealings raised significant concerns. A particularly notable incident involved the Department of Trade and Industry, DTI, investigation, which concluded that Al Fayed had misrepresented his financial status during the acquisition of Harrods. Al Fayed viewed this as a calculated move by powerful forces aimed at discrediting him. In a rare moment of vulnerability, he stated, "I have done more for this country than most who were born here, and yet they treat me like an enemy." This sentiment echoed his deep frustration with the British establishment, which he believed was conspiring against him. Media manipulation. The media's role in shaping Al Fayed's narrative cannot be understated. The press often portrayed him as an outsider, a wealthy foreigner whose business practices were scrutinized and sensationalized. Notably, the British tabloids took a particular interest in Al Fayed, often framing him as a controversial figure whose very presence in the UK was contentious. This portrayal played a pivotal role in public perception and influenced the government's stance on his citizenship. One of the most impactful moments came after the tragic death of his son Dodi Fayed and Princess Diana in 1997. Al Fayed accused the British royal family of orchestrating the crash, claiming it was a cover-up to prevent Dodi from marrying Diana. His accusations were met with skepticism and ridicule by many in the media, further alienating him. He stated, "I will not rest until I get to the bottom of what happened to my son and Diana." This unwavering resolve showcased Al Fayed's belief that powerful institutions were not only involved in his son's death but were also conspiring against him in his quest for citizenship. Political climate. The political landscape during Al Fayed's battles added another layer of complexity. The Conservative government of the time was not particularly sympathetic to immigrant narratives, especially those involving wealthy foreign nationals. This political climate fostered an environment where allegations and accusations against Al Fayed gained traction. Politicians and media alike often framed him as a troublesome foreigner using his citizenship struggle to galvanize nationalistic sentiments. In contrast, some members of Parliament, MPs, and legal experts began to voice concerns over the treatment of Al Fayed. Legal scholar Lord Goldsmith commented on the ethical implications of denying citizenship based on a person's wealth or origins, emphasizing that every individual deserves a fair chance, irrespective of their background. This perspective highlighted a growing divide between the establishment's views and those advocating for fairness and justice. The lavish parties at Harrods. Al Fayed transformed Harrods into a cultural landmark. At one of his extravagant Christmas celebrations, he donned a Santa Claus outfit, handing out gifts to children while declaring, "In this store, dreams come true." This phrase encapsulated his vision of Harrods as a place of wonder and luxury, yet it stood in stark contrast to the image the media often painted of him. Customer engagement philosophy. Al Fayed believed in personalized service, famously stating, "Every customer is a VIP at Harrods." This philosophy not only boosted Harrods' reputation but also revealed his desire to connect with people on a personal level, challenging the cold, transactional nature often associated with luxury retail. Philanthropic efforts. Despite the controversies, Al Fayed was also known for his charitable contributions. He often remarked, "Success is not just about making money, it's about making a difference." This statement reflects his belief in giving back to the community, emphasizing that wealth could be a tool for positive change rather than just personal gain. Citizenship frustrations. Al Fayed's frustrations reached a peak when he remarked, "They deny me citizenship, yet I invest in this country, create jobs, and support charities. Where is the justice?" This sentiment encapsulates the crux of his struggle, the feeling of being perpetually on the outside looking in. The aftermath. In the wake of his ongoing battles, Al Fayed's citizenship application remained in limbo, and the media continued to churn out stories that often emphasized his status as an outsider. The media's narrative served to reinforce the government's position, creating a cyclical effect that further marginalized Al Fayed. In interviews, he repeatedly expressed a sense of betrayal, claiming, "I came here seeking opportunity and was met with hostility." As time progressed, the narratives surrounding Al Fayed began to shift. Following his eventual resignation from Harrods in 2010 and his subsequent departure from the UK, the conversation surrounding his citizenship evolved. While he remained a polarizing figure, the impact of his legacy, particularly regarding the treatment of immigrants and the media's role in shaping public opinion, continued to be a topic of discussion. Al Fayed's struggle for citizenship was emblematic of larger societal issues concerning race, nationality, and belonging in the UK. His experiences reflect the complexities of navigating a system that, at times, appears to favor the established elite over those perceived as outsiders. The media, often a double-edged sword, played a crucial role in shaping his narrative, one that oscillated between acceptance and ostracism. By focusing on specific incidents involving media manipulation and political maneuvering, this chapter not only enhances the understanding of Al Fayed's struggle but also underscores the broader implications of how media narratives can influence individual lives and societal perceptions. As Al Fayed once said, "My life has been a series of battles, but I will continue to fight for what I believe in." His legacy, marred by controversy yet fueled by resilience, serves as a powerful reminder of the intricacies of identity and acceptance in a world that often thrives on division. Chapter 4. The media's role in shaping the narrative. Introduction. In the labyrinth of power and influence, few entities wield as much sway as the media. For Mohamed Al Fayed, the media became both a battleground and a weapon. This chapter examines the intricate relationship between Al Fayed and the media, exploring specific incidents that illustrate how narratives were crafted, manipulated, and weaponized against him. Through allegations of bias, sensationalism, and conspiracies, we will delve into the factors that fueled public perception and ultimately shaped Al Fayed's legacy. Media manipulation and bias. Al Fayed's journey through the British media landscape was fraught with challenges. From his arrival in the UK to his acquisition of Harrods, he faced scrutiny that was often marked by bias and sensationalism. One of the pivotal moments that underscored this bias occurred shortly after his purchase of Harrods in 1985. Reports frequently framed him as an outsider, with headlines questioning his wealth and integrity. Such portrayals not only questioned his business acumen but also insinuated that his foreign origins rendered him unworthy of operating one of the UK's most prestigious retail establishments. The sensationalist approach was further exemplified in the coverage surrounding his acquisition of Harrods. Media outlets painted Al Fayed as a wealthy playboy, focusing on his extravagant lifestyle while glossing over his genuine efforts to enhance the store's reputation. For instance, during the grand reopening of Harrods after its extensive renovations, one article proclaimed, "The Egyptian Empire, Al Fayed's latest conquest," suggesting that his motives were purely about showcasing wealth rather than restoring the store's historical charm. This pattern of exaggeration contributed to a growing animosity towards him, creating a narrative that he was a threat to British values. Key incidents of media attack. A defining incident that illustrated the media's role in shaping negative narratives against Al Fayed occurred in 1993 when he publicly accused the British royal family of conspiring to murder his son, Dodi Fayed, and Princess Diana. The aftermath of their tragic death in a car crash in Paris was ripe for sensationalist reporting. Headlines blared claims that Al Fayed was a grieving father seeking vengeance, but they often disregarded his grief and the context of his statements. This incident marked a turning point, as the media, rather than treating him as a father mourning the loss of his son, turned him into a figure of ridicule and conspiracy. In an interview following the accident, Al Fayed declared, "The truth will come out, and I will not rest until I find it." However, the media's portrayal transformed his quest for answers into a quest for attention. Satirical programs began to caricature him as a conspiracy theorist, mocking his assertions rather than investigating them. The shift from a focus on his tragic loss to mocking his motives showcased how the media could easily distort narratives and shape public perception. The power of satire and celebrity culture. The media's penchant for satire exacerbated Al Fayed's struggles. Shows like Have I Got News for You and The Daily Show quickly seized upon his statements, presenting them in a comedic light. The once serious allegations were reinterpreted through the lens of humor, reducing the gravity of his claims and reinforcing public skepticism towards him. This approach not only undermined the validity of his concerns but also created a culture where his perspective was seen as laughable rather than legitimate. One notable example of this occurred in the wake of the allegations against the royal family. Satirical segments showcased caricatures of Al Fayed as a deranged conspiracist, further alienating him from the public. The repeated portrayals not only impacted his credibility but also cultivated a cultural narrative where his grievances were dismissed outright. Investigative journalism or sensationalism. While some media outlets aimed to investigate the complexities of Al Fayed's life, others resorted to sensationalism. For instance, when allegations of sexual misconduct surfaced against him in the late 1990s, the coverage ranged from serious investigative pieces to tabloid sensationalism that focused on the salacious details rather than the gravity of the allegations. The dual nature of media coverage blurred the lines between fact and fiction, complicating public understanding of Al Fayed's true character. The relationship between Al Fayed and the media was further complicated by the role of certain journalists. While some sought to provide a balanced account, others engaged in smear campaigns, often at the behest of powerful figures who had their own interests in discrediting him. Al Fayed openly criticized media personalities, asserting, "These journalists are nothing but hired guns, working for those who wish to see me fall." His battle with the media became a reflection of larger societal dynamics, where the pursuit of truth often clashed with the quest for sensationalism. Al Fayed's response, a defensive strategy. In response to the media attacks, Al Fayed adopted a defensive posture. He became increasingly vocal about what he perceived as a concerted effort to ruin his reputation. Al Fayed stated, "I will fight back with everything I have. The truth will shine through the darkness of these lies." This declaration marked a shift in his strategy. No longer would he remain passive. Instead, he began to engage directly with the media, giving interviews and issuing statements designed to counter negative portrayals. His defense was not without its consequences. By openly criticizing the media, Al Fayed risked alienating himself further from a public already skeptical of his motives. His statements often ignited a media frenzy, with coverage centering around his confrontational approach rather than the content of his claims. For instance, his appearance on a talk show devolved into a heated exchange, overshadowing any substantive discussion and allowing journalists to portray him as unstable. The impact of digital media. With the rise of digital media in the late 1990s and early 2000s, Al Fayed's battle with the press evolved yet again. Online platforms began to host discussions surrounding his life, often amplifying both support and dissent. Websites dedicated to celebrity gossip frequently published unverified rumors, further complicating the narrative surrounding him. Al Fayed became a polarizing figure in the digital age, with social media amplifying both the conspiracy theories surrounding him and the backlash from detractors. This shift in media dynamics transformed public discourse. While traditional media was often constrained by editorial policies, digital platforms offered a space for unfiltered commentary. Al Fayed's statements and alleged misdeeds became fodder for endless speculation, reinforcing the idea that he was an enigma to be dissected. This new landscape of media interaction influenced how people perceived him, with opinions often swayed by the latest viral post rather than substantive reporting. Conclusion: a legacy of controversy. The media's role in shaping Mohamed Al Fayed's narrative cannot be understated. Through manipulation, sensationalism, and satire, the press crafted a complex image that both elevated and vilified him. Al Fayed's response, marked by defiance and a commitment to countering the prevailing narrative, added layers to his legacy, transforming him from a successful businessman into a figure emblematic of the conflicts between personal truth and public perception. As we analyze the intricacies of Al Fayed's relationship with the media, it becomes clear that his story serves as a cautionary tale about the power of narratives. In an age where information is both abundant and easily distorted, the lessons learned from Al Fayed's experiences resonate deeply, highlighting the need for critical engagement with the media. In the ever-shifting landscape of public perception, one must ask, how much of the story is truly theirs to tell? Chapter 5, The British Establishment and Al Fayed, A Clash of Titans. Introduction. In the intricate web of British society, few figures have embodied the tension between foreign ambition and local skepticism as Mohamed Al Fayed. His journey through the upper echelons of British business and society was marked by a persistent struggle against an establishment that seemed resolutely against him. This chapter delves into the incidents that illustrate the animosity between Al Fayed and the British establishment, exploring how these conflicts fueled conspiracy theories and shaped his public image. Al Fayed's ascension and initial acceptance. Al Fayed's story in the UK began with his strategic entry into high society. His acquisition of Harrods marked a significant milestone, establishing him as a prominent figure in London. Initially, his lavish renovations and enhancements to the store were well received. The British public, intrigued by the charismatic Egyptian businessman, embraced him. However, this acceptance was not to last, as whispers of dissent began to circulate among the British elite. The turning point came in the early 1990s, when Al Fayed's public persona began to clash with traditional British values. His ostentatious displays of wealth, which had once garnered admiration, began to elicit skepticism. Critics accused him of lacking the proper decorum expected of someone in his position. The growing perception that he was an outsider, unworthy of his status, set the stage for the subsequent battles with the British establishment. The royal family and their influence. One of the most significant factors contributing to Al Fayed's conflicts was his fraught relationship with the British royal family. His introduction to the royals occurred during a polo match in 1986, where he met Princess Diana, who would later become a crucial figure in his life. Al Fayed's proximity to the royal family cultivated both opportunities and rivalries, leading to a complicated dynamic characterized by admiration, resentment, and ultimately, conspiracy. Following the tragic deaths of Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed, Al Fayed's accusations against the royal family intensified. He publicly claimed that they were complicit in the deaths, alleging a conspiracy to eliminate Dodi and his relationship with Diana. His fervent declarations were met with a mix of disbelief and hostility from the establishment. In a notorious interview, Al Fayed stated, "The British establishment is not comfortable with a man like me, who dares to question their authority." This assertion encapsulated the heart of his grievances, framing him as a challenger to the status quo. The press and public perception. The media's portrayal of Al Fayed as a controversial figure further complicated his relationship with the British establishment. Journalists often depicted him as an attention-seeking provocateur, eager to undermine the royal family. The coverage surrounding his allegations post-Diana's death played into the hands of those who sought to discredit him. Headlines framing him as a grieving father became a double-edged sword, drawing sympathy while simultaneously reinforcing the narrative of his instability. One notable example of this media bias occurred during the inquest into the deaths of Diana and Dodi. Al Fayed's attempts to present evidence were met with skepticism, and the media seized upon any misstep or emotional outburst as proof of his irrationality. In a particularly damaging moment, he was depicted as a desperate man clinging to his conspiracy theories, sidelining the more profound issues of loss and justice. This media narrative further alienated him from public support and solidified his adversarial position against the establishment. Legal battles and accusations. Al Fayed's conflicts with the British establishment extended beyond media portrayals to legal battles. His accusations against the royal family culminated in lawsuits that captured public attention and further deepened the divide between him and the establishment. His legal strategies often portrayed him as a man standing up against powerful adversaries, yet the outcomes frequently reinforced the perception of his outsider status. One of the pivotal legal battles arose from his allegations concerning the circumstances surrounding Diana's death. Al Fayed claimed that the British authorities were complicit in covering up the truth, alleging that evidence was suppressed to protect the royal family. His relentless pursuit of justice led him to court, where he faced considerable opposition. The establishment's powerful legal resources were pitted against him, and the outcome, which ultimately did not favor Al Fayed, reinforced the narrative that he was fighting a losing battle against entrenched interests. Political intrigue and allegations. As Al Fayed's claims gained traction, they were often met with political intrigue. His vocal criticisms of the royal family, coupled with his legal battles, prompted responses from various political figures. Some sought to distance themselves from him, while others engaged in discreet discussions about how to manage his allegations. The complex interplay between Al Fayed and political entities showcased how his presence in Britain provoked reactions that went beyond personal grievances. In one notable incident, an MP was quoted as saying, "Al Fayed is a loose cannon who could damage the reputation of our monarchy." Such statements fueled conspiracy theories suggesting that powerful figures were conspiring to silence him. Al Fayed's public narrative became entwined with broader themes of power dynamics, leading many to view him as a victim of a larger scheme orchestrated by the establishment. The cultural divide, foreign versus British values. At the heart of Al Fayed's conflicts was a cultural divide that exacerbated tensions between him and the British establishment. His approach to business, characterized by flamboyance and ambition, clashed with the understated values traditionally associated with British society. This clash manifested in the way he was perceived by both the public and those in power. The establishment's response to Al Fayed often reflected a broader discomfort with the idea of a foreigner succeeding in a sphere traditionally dominated by the British elite. His attempts to integrate into high society were met with suspicion and resistance. This cultural divide was compounded by the perception that Al Fayed's wealth was unearned and that he was merely a new money interloper rather than a legitimate member of the British establishment. The conspiracy of silence. As Al Fayed navigated the treacherous waters of British society, his experiences illuminated the complexity of power dynamics and the role of the media in shaping public perception. The narrative that emerged painted him as a controversial figure, embroiled in conflicts with both the royal family and the establishment. The legacy of Al Fayed's battles reveals a society grappling with questions of identity, belonging, and the interplay between ambition and acceptance. His story is a reflection of how the pursuit of truth can be met with resistance, leading to a conspiracy of silence surrounding those who dare to challenge entrenched power. As we reflect on Al Fayed's legacy, we must consider the broader implications of his struggles. What happens when ambition collides with an unwillingness to embrace change? Chapter 6. The media's role in Al Fayed's narrative, a double-edged sword. Introduction. In the realm of public perception, few forces wield as much power as the media. The relationship between Mohamed Al Fayed and the media is a study in contradictions. While the press often served as a platform for his voice, it simultaneously became a weapon used against him. This chapter examines specific instances where media coverage shaped Al Fayed's narrative, highlighting the double-edged nature of publicity and its role in reinforcing conspiracy theories about his life and business dealings. The rise of tabloid sensationalism. The 1990s marked the rise of tabloid journalism in the UK, a development that would significantly impact Al Fayed's public image. As newspapers began to prioritize sensationalism over substantive reporting, Al Fayed found himself at the center of a media storm that blurred the lines between fact and fiction. Stories often exaggerated his eccentricities and personal life, painting him as a caricature rather than a complex individual. After the tragic death of Diana and Dodi Fayed, the tabloids ran wild with headlines that sensationalized Al Fayed's grief. Phrases like "the grieving father" and "a man consumed by rage" dominated the front pages of publications such as The Sun and the Daily Mirror. This coverage not only sensationalized his pain but also positioned him as an unstable figure, unworthy of sympathy. In an interview, Al Fayed lamented, "The media twisted my emotions into a grotesque spectacle. They didn't care about my loss, only the story." Media manipulation and character assassination. Al Fayed's accusations against the royal family and the British establishment provided fertile ground for media manipulation. Journalists often framed his claims in a manner that minimized their validity, choosing instead to focus on his emotional outbursts and erratic behavior. This selective reporting contributed to a narrative that portrayed him as a delusional man, obsessed with conspiracy theories. One illustrative example occurred during the inquest into Diana's death. Al Fayed's attempts to present evidence of a conspiracy were overshadowed by media focus on his demeanor. Reports characterized him as frantic and unhinged, diminishing the weight of his allegations. In a press conference, he stated, "I am not mad, I am a father who lost his son. You must understand my grief." This plea, however, was drowned out by headlines that sensationalized his emotional state, effectively discrediting his claims and isolating him from public support. Publicity stunts and the backlash. Throughout his career, Al Fayed employed various publicity stunts to capture media attention, hoping to leverage this exposure to bolster his public image. However, these attempts often backfired, resulting in increased scrutiny and skepticism from both the media and the public. His confrontational approach, particularly regarding the royal family, often resulted in media portrayals that emphasized his outsider status. One notable stunt was his declaration of his intention to open a Diana memorial at Harrods shortly after her death. While he aimed to honor her memory, the media interpreted this as a self-serving attempt to exploit the tragedy for personal gain. Coverage of this initiative was rife with criticism, labeling him a tasteless opportunist. Journalist Richard Kay remarked in the Daily Mail, Al Fayed's move was crass and indicative of a man more interested in his own image than genuine grief. This backlash underscored how quickly the media could turn against him, reinforcing the perception that Al Fayed was perpetually on the defensive. The role of investigative journalism. Amidst the sensationalism, some investigative journalists sought to uncover the truth behind Al Fayed's allegations. However, their work was often overshadowed by the prevailing narratives created by more sensational outlets. Investigative pieces that delved into the complexities of Al Fayed's accusations faced challenges in gaining traction in a media landscape focused on scandal rather than substance. One notable investigative report by The Guardian examined the relationship between Al Fayed and the royal family, attempting to provide context for his grievances. The report suggested that Al Fayed's accusations were rooted in a genuine sense of injustice, stemming from his experiences as an outsider in British society. Unfortunately, such nuanced perspectives rarely made it to the front pages, where sensational headlines reigned supreme. In a revealing quote, the journalist wrote, Al Fayed's story is not just one of a grieving father, it is a reflection of how outsiders are treated in a world dominated by the elite. Social media's impact on Al Fayed's legacy. As the digital age unfolded, social media emerged as a powerful tool for shaping public discourse. Al Fayed's legacy became a topic of discussion among users who shared stories and opinions, often perpetuating conspiracy theories. Social media platforms allowed for the rapid dissemination of information, but they also created echo chambers that reinforced existing biases. Conspiracy theories surrounding Al Fayed's life, particularly regarding his allegations against the royal family, found new life in online forums. Users shared articles, videos, and opinions that often distorted the facts, contributing to a growing mythos around Al Fayed as a martyr fighting against an oppressive establishment. As one user on Twitter stated, Al Fayed is the ultimate outsider, fighting against a system rigged to keep him down. The lack of editorial oversight on social media meant that misinformation could spread unchecked, complicating Al Fayed's already tumultuous narrative. The impact of the BBC documentary. The recent BBC documentary, Mohamed Al Fayed, Predator at Harrods, brought renewed attention to his legacy, particularly regarding allegations of sexual misconduct. The documentary, while aiming to investigate serious claims against him, also revisited his battles with the media and the establishment. Critics argued that the documentary framed Al Fayed as a villain rather than exploring the complexities of his narrative. In one chilling moment, the documentary featured testimonies from alleged victims of Al Fayed's misconduct, further complicating his already fraught relationship with the media. While the documentary aimed to shed light on serious allegations, it also reignited discussions about Al Fayed's conspiracy theories, suggesting that the media's role in shaping his narrative was as complex as the allegations themselves. As journalist Emma Barnett pointed out, this is not just a story about allegations, it's a tale of a man whose entire life has been dictated by media narratives. The media as a conspiratorial force. The relationship between Mohamed Al Fayed and the media reveals a multifaceted dynamic, characterized by both support and betrayal. While the media provided him with a platform to voice his grievances, it also served as a powerful force that shaped public perception in ways that often undermined his credibility. As we consider the legacy of Al Fayed, we must recognize the media's role as both a storyteller and a conspiratorial force. His battles against the establishment were not merely personal struggles, they were emblematic of broader issues of power, representation, and the complexities of truth in a media-saturated world. Al Fayed's narrative serves as a cautionary tale about the power of media in constructing and deconstructing the legacies of those who challenge the status quo. Chapter 7. The intricate web of alliances and rivalries, Al Fayed's influential relationships. Introduction. In the complex landscape of business, politics, and media, relationships can serve as both lifelines and threats. For Mohamed Al Fayed, the powerful connections he cultivated were often overshadowed by intense rivalries and serious allegations of misconduct. This chapter explores the intricate web of alliances and rivalries that defined Al Fayed's life, shedding light on how these relationships shaped his narrative and contributed to the conspiracy theories surrounding him, all while maintaining a critical lens on his actions. The business landscape, allies and adversaries. Al Fayed's rise in the business world was marked by significant alliances, yet it was his adversarial relationships that often garnered more attention. One of his most notable alliances was with the Qatari royal family, particularly after his acquisition of Harrods in 1985. This relationship provided him with considerable financial backing and a level of prestige that reinforced his status in the UK. However, his rivalry with Tiny Rowland, the former owner of the House of Fraser, loomed large over Al Fayed's career. Rowland, known for his shrewd business tactics, viewed Al Fayed as an upstart, and their contentious relationship played out in the media. Rowland publicly accused Al Fayed of misrepresenting his wealth during the acquisition of Harrods, prompting a protracted legal battle that would tarnish Al Fayed's reputation. Rowland's assertion that Al Fayed was nothing more than a fraud echoed through the tabloids, solidifying a narrative that painted Al Fayed as an outsider fighting against a British establishment unwilling to accept him. The royal family, allies or foes. The relationship between Al Fayed and the British royal family is perhaps the most complex aspect of his life story. Initially, Al Fayed sought to ingratiate himself with the royals, even inviting them to Harrods for lavish events. His connection to Diana, Princess of Wales, was particularly pivotal. The two shared a friendship that blossomed during her tumultuous marriage to Prince Charles. Al Fayed viewed this alliance as a means to gain social legitimacy, a tactic he often employed in his dealings with the British elite. However, this relationship soured dramatically following the deaths of Diana and Dodi Fayed. Al Fayed's public accusations against the royal family escalated into a full-blown media frenzy, portraying him as a vengeful figure seeking justice. In an emotional outburst, he claimed, "The establishment killed my son and his beloved." This statement not only deepened the conspiracy narrative surrounding Diana's death but also positioned Al Fayed as a figure battling against a powerful institution, obscuring the broader context of his own controversial history. Media moguls, allies with hidden agendas. Al Fayed's interactions with media moguls played a critical role in shaping his public persona. Figures such as Rupert Murdoch held significant sway in the media landscape, and their relationships with Al Fayed were often transactional. While he sought media coverage to bolster his image, he also found himself ensnared in the very narratives crafted by these powerful individuals. The tension between Al Fayed and media moguls was palpable during the 1990s, particularly as stories regarding his personal life began to circulate. Al Fayed's attempts to control the narrative often fell short, leading to a perception of him as a desperate figure attempting to manipulate public opinion. In a candid interview, he remarked, "I offered them my story, but they only wanted the scandal." This relationship highlighted the paradox of seeking media alliances while simultaneously battling damaging narratives, including the allegations of sexual misconduct that emerged against him. The influence of journalists and investigators. Investigative journalists played a significant role in shaping the public's understanding of Al Fayed's narrative. While some sought to unveil the truth behind his allegations, others perpetuated sensationalism. Journalists like Martin Bashir and David Frost conducted high-profile interviews with Al Fayed, often focusing on his accusations against the royal family, which intensified public interest but also contributed to a perception of him as a controversial figure. One particularly revealing interview with Bashir showcased Al Fayed's emotional turmoil following Diana's death. Al Fayed's raw vulnerability resonated with some viewers, yet Bashir's framing leaned towards sensationalism, overshadowing the deeper issues Al Fayed sought to address. This moment encapsulated the dual nature of media interactions for Al Fayed, providing a platform while simultaneously feeding into the narrative of conspiracy and complicity in the face of serious allegations. The legacy of rivalries, impact on public perception. The intricate web of alliances and rivalries that defined Al Fayed's life had profound implications for his public perception. While his friendships with influential figures occasionally granted him a level of protection, his rivalries often overshadowed these connections, reinforcing a narrative that positioned him as an outsider battling the establishment. The ongoing legal disputes with Rowland served as a case study in how public perception can be manipulated by media narratives. Rowland's accusations and subsequent media coverage painted Al Fayed as a deceitful businessman, which ultimately influenced public opinion during the House of Fraser acquisition saga. Al Fayed later reflected, "They painted me as the villain in a story I never wanted to be part of." This statement highlights his perception of victimhood amidst a backdrop of serious allegations against him, complicating the narrative he sought to control. The broader conspiracy, motivations and beneficiaries. In the larger context of conspiracy theories, the motivations behind the actions of Al Fayed's allies and adversaries become clearer. Figures like Rowland and members of the British elite had vested interests in discrediting Al Fayed, fearing the disruption he posed to their established order. The media's portrayal of Al Fayed as a conspiratorial figure served to protect the interests of those in power, as it diverted attention away from the complexities of their relationships. Additionally, the Qatari royal family's support of Al Fayed can be seen as both a strategic alliance and a potential liability. Their involvement in his narrative provided him with financial backing, yet their own political motivations complicated his position within British society. As Al Fayed himself acknowledged, "In business, you never know who your friends are until the stakes are high," highlighting the precarious nature of his alliances amidst serious allegations. The power of relationships in shaping narrative. The intricate web of relationships that characterized Mohamed Al Fayed's life underscores the power dynamics at play in the intersection of business, media, and politics. While he forged alliances that bolstered his public image, rivalries often overshadowed these connections, creating a narrative steeped in controversy and conspiracy. As we reflect on Al Fayed's life, it becomes evident that the motivations of influential figures were deeply intertwined with the public's perception of him. The conspiratorial themes that emerged from his interactions reveal not only the fragility of reputation but also the complexities of power in a world where alliances can quickly turn to rivalries. Ultimately, Al Fayed's story serves as a testament to the intricate dance of relationships that define public life, a dance fraught with both opportunity and peril, especially when overshadowed by serious allegations of misconduct. Chapter 8: Legacy and Public Perception. Introduction: The many faces of Mohamed Al Fayed. Mohamed Al Fayed's life left an indelible mark on public consciousness. His complex legacy, ranging from his business triumphs and high-profile legal battles to conspiracy theories and personal controversies, ensured his place as a figure who will continue to intrigue, even after his passing in 2023. With so many layers to his story, how future generations remember Al Fayed will depend on the narratives that continue to unfold in the public domain. Media dynamics and shaping public image. Throughout his life, Al Fayed navigated the tumultuous seas of media representation. At times, he sought to control the narrative through public relations campaigns, yet found himself at odds with powerful media forces. His public image fluctuated dramatically, from being perceived as a charming, larger-than-life businessman to a divisive figure embroiled in legal challenges and controversies. The media was integral in shaping both his rise and fall in public opinion. In the 1990s, Al Fayed made headlines for his acquisition of Harrods and his allegations surrounding the death of Princess Diana. However, those same outlets also played a role in bringing forth sexual misconduct allegations, which he vehemently denied. These shifting narratives, influenced by investigative journalism, created an evolving image of Al Fayed, where his successes were often overshadowed by his perceived flaws. Investigative journalism, seeking truth or sensation. Al Fayed's relationship with investigative journalism was marked by a mixture of confrontation and exposure. Investigative reporters often challenged his carefully cultivated public persona. This was particularly evident in exposes such as the Vanity Fair article accusing him of racism, surveillance, and sexual misconduct. Al Fayed himself became the subject of numerous investigative pieces, many of which scrutinized his business dealings, personal life, and political connections. At the same time, investigative journalism played a critical role in uncovering truths that the public might otherwise have missed. The BBC documentary Al Fayed, Predator at Harrods renewed attention on sexual assault allegations against him. While he maintained his innocence, the documentary and the subsequent media coverage had a lasting impact on his public legacy. Journalism's pursuit of truth also highlighted his influence in the political realm, most notably through his claims of corruption within the British establishment, including the Cash for Questions scandal. Al Fayed's personal grievances and accusations became key material for investigative journalists, further cementing his status as a controversial figure. Business legacy: a man of global ambition. While much of the public's focus rested on his personal controversies, Al Fayed's business acumen remains a crucial part of his legacy. His acquisition of Harrods and the Ritz in Paris were monumental achievements that showcased his ambition and ability to maneuver within elite circles. His vision of transforming Harrods into a global luxury brand was a testament to his long-term strategic thinking. However, Al Fayed's decision to sell Harrods to the Qatari royal family in 2010 marked a significant shift. This sale brought an end to his direct influence over one of the world's most prestigious stores, and, in many ways, signaled the conclusion of his business empire. The Qatari royals, now at the helm of Harrods, helped reshape the store's image, distancing it from the controversial figure who once controlled it. Conspiracy theories: fact and fiction. Al Fayed's public narrative was deeply entwined with conspiracy theories, most notably his accusations against the British royal family regarding the deaths of Princess Diana and his son, Dodi. Despite the official investigation's conclusions, Al Fayed remained convinced that the tragedy was part of a broader conspiracy, a belief that endeared him to some and alienated others. His relentless pursuit of these theories gave him a unique role within the world of public perception, part truth seeker, part agitator. These theories, while never substantiated by legal verdicts, contributed to his legacy as a man who constantly challenged authority and mainstream narratives. To some, he appeared as a victim of systemic bias and prejudice; to others, he was seen as a man who thrived on controversy, sometimes at the expense of truth. The lasting image: controversy and power. Now that Al Fayed has passed, the question arises: how will history judge him? Will he be remembered primarily as a businessman with global ambition, a victim of systemic bias, or as a controversial figure whose alleged misconduct overshadowed his accomplishments? The media, with its power to both construct and deconstruct legacies, will continue to play a pivotal role in shaping Al Fayed's image in the years to come. His influence on popular culture, from his relationship with Princess Diana to his ownership of Harrods, ensures that his name will remain part of public discourse for years to come. Yet, the darker aspects of his legacy, his numerous legal battles and accusations, cannot be overlooked, especially as investigative journalism continues to shine light on previously undisclosed details. Power, prejudice, and legacy. Mohamed Al Fayed's life encapsulated the complexities of power, ambition, and controversy. He was a man who made no apologies for his ambitions, but who also found himself frequently at odds with institutions that wielded equal, if not greater, power. His legacy, while tainted by allegations and controversy, also speaks to a larger narrative about the intersection of wealth, media, and influence. For future generations, Al Fayed will likely remain a figure who defies simple categorization, both celebrated and condemned, a man of wealth who sought power but found himself at the mercy of forces beyond his control. His story is a reminder that